Hello folks, how are we all doing? And are we excited about the update for Automobilista 2 by Reza Studios that is imminently about to drop tomorrow? I know I am. In the meantime, whilst we're waiting, I want to introduce you to a precious stone, which we're going to take for a trip around the curve of the sun. Let me explain. Because the update's coming, where the tension's mounting, we're all excited about it, but I just want to show you this. This is our precious stone, the Chevrolet Opala. This car is fantastic. And the reason I call it a precious stone is because Opala comes from the name opal, which is, opal is a precious stone, colourless when extracted from the ground, but takes on multiple different kind of variances when exposed to the light. So it does make me wonder if Chevrolet ever made a version of this with one of those iridescent, is that the right word? Iridescent paint jobs where it sort of shines different colours in the light. Now, this car, there are several different versions of it. This is the Opala 79. It's got 185 horsepower. It's weighing in at about 1,100 kilograms. And we've got a 4-speed H pattern. Also, on the back end, we've got an open differential. It's a live axle. And it's an open differential. That's the same on all three versions of this car that are in the sim. And each one of them uses a straight six engine. A very, very reliable engine. This car was famous for its reliability. Popular with taxi drivers in Brazil, the police, and agents of the military. So we've got that version. We've got the old stock version, which is completely mental. Because, as I said, the 79 version is 185 brake horsepower, good for about, I don't know, about 125 miles per hour. And that's on old coil spring, soggy suspension. It is a bit like driving a brick on top of a sponge. Now, the stock version, the old stock version, that horsepower with that kind of handling goes to 297 brake horsepower. So it's mental. And you can get some real wheel hiking out of it as well at those speeds with that kind of power. That uses a 5-speed H pattern. Some people, by the way, have said that they think the wheel hiking that can be done in this car is unrealistic. No, it's exactly what I expect from a car like this. With a racing setup? Yes, especially with a racing setup going at speeds quite a bit higher than this car was designed to do, which was about, well, I think it was about 114 mile an hour car. But these versions are quite a bit faster because they're racing versions. Now, this is the 1986 version. And again, it's got the straight six. It's got a 4-speed H pattern. It's 238 brake horsepower, which is higher than the 79, but lower than the stock version. But it is pretty much faster than both of them because the handling's so much better. Although, it still is a brick on a sponge. Also on this one, the front lights, which you can't see from this side view, they made them square because it was the 80s and everyone got a bit square in the 80s. But the version we're driving has got the nice round lights. Also, it's orange. And I've chosen that deliberately because the Chevrolet Opala, well, it came out at the same time as the Generation 1 of the Camaro, which was, of course, a muscle car. And another muscle car that's a little bit like it, a bit more elongated. If you elongate this car a little bit, or if you were to do that, you could kind of get a big orange Dodge Charger, basically, which was used in the Dukes of Hazzard, the General-E. And seeing as this looks a little bit like a squished one, more like a Dodge Challenger maybe, I've decided to make it orange just because it looks a bit like the General-E. That's not the only movie reference I'm going to make, by the way. This car, if you look really closely, also shows up in certain scenes of Moonraker. Ding 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 ding. Yeah, that's enough of that. Right, so this is our precious stone. Now, we're going to take it to a track that I've absolutely fallen in love with, and that is this. It's Interlagos. But this is the historic version of Interlagos, 1976. So this car came about in the 60s and carried on into the 80s. And then in the 1990s, the Omega took over. So you can see where the Chevrolet Omega came from. But this old version of the track is absolutely fantastic. We have this extra bit of the infield here, where there is Sector 2. And in Sector 2, there's a really big curve here, which is called Curva del Sol, which basically translates as curve of the sun. And it does go on forever, this curve. And I just think that is one of the most beautiful names for a corner in motorsport. But, you know, I wanted to show you this combination because it's just brilliant. So here are my rules, if you for your reference. Here are my opponent settings. I've got as many cars on track as possible. Let's just check. Yeah, 31. We're at 70% aggression. Now, I've got my opponent's skill level at 120, which is as high as it will go. And there's a good reason for that. And it's one of the reasons I mentioned this car and this track in conjunction with the update that's coming. Because this car and this track, I really think they are absolutely brilliant. And of course, we already have them in the game. But I do think this car, this track, could do with some updates. And I really hope to see maybe some updates in this coming anniversary. By the way, happy birthday, Automobilista 2 and Reza Studios. Well done, guys. I really hope to see this car updated. If it's not, I would like to see it updated in future updates. So, we're going to go out with the standard setup. And let's get out there and I'll just give you a quick tour of the track. This is qualifying we're in at the moment. We are, of course, in VR, so we can properly look around. Let's get our pit limiter on and out we go. This old version of Interlagos is just absolutely awesome. Down in the heart, of course, of Sao Paulo. This car, by the way, was shown at the 1968 Sao Paulo Auto Show on a revolving stage, and Sterling Moss turned up. I don't know if he was here, well, I shouldn't think he was here for this car, but point of interest anyway. I wonder what he thought of it. I'm just going to show you something quickly before we go on. We're on the first straight, Reteo, which stands for straight. Look down there! It's a little VW camper van disguised as an ambulance. Isn't that brilliant? Now, I'm just going to show you something about this diff. This car was updated in the last update, and they made sure basically that the back diff was a completely open diff. So it's hard to get this thing to do donuts, because basically the inside wheel ends up spinning. But it does mean that because of the power, how the power gets transmitted, you can go quite high in the gears whilst you're trying to do a donut. So we're in first gear, and there we go. The inside wheel is just spinning up. It can't properly do a donut. You can see the tyre tracks I've left on the ground. But if we don't smack into the wall, we can stick it into second. Still won't quite do it. We'll try it and get it into third. Hang on. Yeah, it's not going to happen. But you can actually, I can actually get it into about third and do that. I'm just being careful because I don't want to smack into other cars coming past. Let's just pull out and hopefully we won't be in the way of another car. But this track is fantastic. You've got all of the old advertising over here on huge, great big wooden boards. Mill barrow. Oh, I love how they've got round some of the copyright laws there. Mill barrow. So you round. This is we're around curve 3 and curve 4. That is the outfield track in front of us there. Basically, there's a big kind of almost like an oval track that runs all the way around the outside. But this is the main track. What we're coming down, you can see in front of us, we've got kind of a big horseshoe, really, which this corner is, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I know it, Ferradura. Now I'm pronouncing that wrong, but it's basically, it means horseshoe, and as you can see, it's a proper horseshoe corner. And this track's got it's got a great flow to it, that corner. This whole corner track has. Down here, we're coming down to the lake, Subida del Lago. Isn't that beautiful? You've got the lake over there. It's just amazing. I think there's a lake on the other side as well. And as we come up here, these big white signs, kind of like huge Hollywood signs here, that says Opala. Obviously you can see it better from the other side, but so obviously Chevrolet were very, very popular around here with the Opala. By the way, before I go on to that, this corner here, it's Gonna go on for a bit because this is Curva del Sol, the curve of the sun. I'm not sure why it's called that. Maybe it's because the sun sits quite high above it in the sky here, but it's beautiful. Another corner with a great flow, goes on forever. There we go. There's the Opala signs. It honestly is like big Hollywood signs there. So then we come down to this quite tight corner. This is Sargento, which I don't know, translates to sergeant really. All right, copper. And oh, it's just beautiful, just beautiful. This is Oranja, which is orange. So this is the orange corner. Not that there's much orange around here, but we are in an orange car. And then we come up to that corner there. And I'm calling it that corner there because it's just called Essa, which as far as I can tell translates as that. So after that we have Pinheirinho. This is Pine Tree corner, I believe. Got a nice bit of banking on the outside, then it kind of flattens out. And then this part here is Bico di Pato, which is duckbill basically. The only reason I can work out it's called that is because from an aerial view I guess it kind of looks a bit like a duck's bill. Or maybe not, I don't know. Now this corner here, I can't pronounce it at all. It means meringue, kind of a sweet corner. Ha ha ha, see what I did there. And then we have Jancuo, this bit here, which is basically junction. And as you can see on this corner, there is a junction. That's where the outside track joins onto the main track. Then we start the climb to the pits. Subita dos boxes. Pits, right? So, anyway, let's try and get a qualifying lap in. I'm not going incredibly fast here. And we'll see how we qualify. That leads me on to why I've got the AI stuck up at 120. Now, unfortunately, the AI for these cars is a bit slow. And that's why I'm mentioning it, because I'd like to see it updated, because I want a lot of time enjoying these cars at this track. But they are really slow. I can qualify in 14th place out of 31 cars, or 32 cars with me, without even trying, without doing a special setup, without much practice. I've just tried to go into 5th because I thought I was doing the 5 gear version, but it's not, it's the 4th gear. Obviously I'm not going to try to really qualify because I'm chatting away to you lot. But that's at 120%. If I really tried, you know, really did some practice on this track, did my own, because you can set this car up quite a bit differently. You know, it's not going to be long before I've run out of AI that can, you know, give me any competition. So I'd like to see that updated. The old stock version of these, a little bit better actually, not quite as bad. And also the 1980 version of this car, terrible. I mean, they're really, really slow. So I'd love to see the AI for these cars specifically updated. Also, this track, and I've noticed this with some of the historic tracks, the AI in many cars actually around this track seem to take some quite odd lines sometimes. They'll also climb the curbs, and as you can see, these are quite steep curbs. You don't want to mess with those curbs. That's kind of okay in a car like this with high ground clearance and soft coil spring suspension. But it's certainly not very good when you stick one of the more modern F1 cars on here. The very low front spoilers will clip the curbs and the cars go catapulting. So I think that's a problem with some of the historic tracks. Because I've noticed the same thing at the old version of Silverstone. But apart from that, it's a lovely track. Also, these wooden fences at the back here. Now, if you go to old Hockenheim, which is a DLC track, so no wonder that's been updated, you hit one of these and they will deform. In this, drive straight through them and they just stay there. In fact, not only are they deformable at Hockenheim, but if you hit them at any sort of speed in a fragile old F1 car, it'll knock off a spoiler, which, you know, a wooden fence post could do if you hit it at speed. So that's one thing I'd like to see updated. But anyway, just going back to this car, I said it was very reliable. The only real problem with this car was that the straight six that they had up the front, it was very reliable, very efficient, apart from cylinders 1 and 6 at either end of the engine. Basically, the mixture didn't go in quite right, and it was the middle 4 cylinders that got all the power. So they had to play around with the mixture, but I do believe that the racing versions got round it by just adding extra carbs, so they'd have up to 2 or 3 double barrel carbs on them. Anyway, so and this car's just great. Like I said, if you get it fast enough, you can really, if you make the front suspension really hard and the back suspension really soft on these, you can make them wheel hike like they're lifting a leg, you know, to get in or out of a car. It's brilliant. But anyway, the main thing that I wanted to show you is how much fun these are to race. Now, like I said, I'm not going to bother getting a qualifying space because I'm chatting away to you lot, so we'll start at the back of the grid. And what I've had to do with these cars, it's another thing that needs updating, is make it a rolling start, because another thing these cars aren't too good at, and it's the same with the DTM cars, by the way, on a standing start, you can overtake all of them off the line. They're really slow in a standing start. So you can get around that with either of these cars or the DTMs or any other cars that do that by having a rolling start. So, anyway, let's return to the pit box, skip to the end of the session, and there we are in last place. Now, here comes the fun, guys, because even though the AI are decent at this level, but I've got no further to push them, so... But you can just have such a good race. And also, if you're an alien and these are just too slow for you, try out the stock version, because the AI are a bit faster. Anyway, let's go to the race. Guys, this is going to be so much fun. Look at this amazing track. It's absolutely fantastic. Right, here we are on a rolling start. We are about to go green here at historic Interlagos. Another thing about these cars, because they're such unaerodynamic, great big boxes. I say boxes, they've got sort of Coke bottle styling. Because they're such unaerodynamic boxes, they're really good for slipstreaming. Because if you get behind one of these cars, you can use its slipstream to slingshot past. And very impressively, the AI will do that to you and each other as well. So it makes for a lot of position swapping on straights. I'm not doing very well here because these two cars are directly behind those other, the red and yellow, red and white cars there, so they got a bit more of a slipstream than I did. You see that car there has just used a bit of the inside curb. Like I said, that's okay with these cars, but not with other types of cars around this track. Anyway, here we come down to the horseshoe. And I've got to try and remember to save the replay on this so you guys can see the trackside cameras as well. Look at these cars wallowing about. You know, they really are like bricks on sponges. But they look so cool! Especially these versions with the old round headlights. These two having a bit of an argument in front of me, number 48 and number 61. Here we come down to the lake. And because of that open differential on the back end, it makes them at high speed. You can use quite a lot of lift off oversteer, but it can, if you get with that open differential and the fact that it's got soggy coil spring suspension, if you get a bit of a speed wobble on, it can lead you into a right tank slapper. So you kind of have to be careful, but they're reasonably easy to drive. And this is just so much fun as I have a battle here with the number 48 car as we go round the Curva de Sol. And he's still there, he's getting very close to me. Now this corner here, careful on the brakes going in, don't want to let the back end step out too much. Sideways action in this car is you can do it and it's good fun, but I'm gonna try and stay away from it, because if I let the back end slide too much, I'll be facing the wrong direction, and without the slipstream, I'll never be able to catch up. So, braking hard here. We've got the 48 car behind us, two 61 cars in front of us. There's another orange. Oh, got a slight touch in the car behind there. There's another orange car up in front of another General Lee. By the way, talking of the Camaro and muscle cars, now I mentioned this car came out at the same time as the Camaro, which is a muscle car, and it has been mentioned in my comments on my videos. You know, because I have called this car a muscle car, and people have said, it makes me laugh you referring to it as a muscle car, because of course it's not a V8. But the first generation Camaro, and here's where that slipstream is going to come into play, the first generation Camaro was available with a 6-cylinder, basically a straight 6. So it looks a bit like a muscle car, it just hasn't got the extra 2 cylinders. But there was an SS version of this car, as there was the Camaro. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that the Chevrolet Impala was manufactured by those car companies came under General Motors at the time. General Motors Brazilian branch was called not just General Motors Brazil, this is brilliant, they were called General Motors do Brazil. General Motors do Brazil, it's like, I don't know, Attenborough does Africa, or Debbie does Dallas, or something like that. Just brilliant. Oh, look at that! AI coming back at us on the inside there. A car sponsored, or got denim written on the side, which is pretty cool. I like that. You can imagine guys in jeans drive. Well, I'm driving this in jeans at the moment. But you've got to try this combination. Oh, there we go. Bit of back end going there. Let's try and power out of the corner. We're a bit low in the rev range because we've only got 4 gears. Here we come down to Interlagos. And keep it nice and easy round this corner. Stay away from those curves, things can get dangerous. Right, we're right at the back of the pack. Another thing that needs updating with these cars, I've noticed with these cars, I don't know if it's just in VR, but certain bits of the car, like some of the cars in front, bits of the bodywork or wheels or centre pillars will disappear from time to time. Also in this car, if you look at my steering wheel, oh, don't hit the grass! The steering wheel goes at an odd angle when you turn it all the way around. You'll probably see it quite well when we turn this. You see that? It goes to a completely odd angle. So that's something that needs updating. But these are just so much fun. And I would love to see, by the way, just a little idea here, I'd love to see if Reza ever decided to bring out a drift pack full of custom drift cars. I'd love to see one of these lowered, slammed to the floor with a solid spooled rear axle or limited slip differential, because I reckon these would make such a cool drift car. And I have seen at least one video of a guy drifting one of these. It looks dead cool. Right, look at the lake down there. It's just beautiful. Here we come to Shangri-La. Let's see if we can try and get a bit closer to these cars and try and get some slipstream. Right, we're in line, but it's struggling a little bit as we climbed up towards the pits there, but getting a bit more out of her. I've stopped and looked at the crowds along here, and the clothes are just fantastic. I think I've seen at least one pair of bell bottoms. Right, I really didn't need to change down to third there. That was rubbish of me. Right, here we go. On Riteo, the Strato. Can we catch up? There was me going on about how the AI is too easy, and I'm right at the back of the pack. But like I said, you know, I don't drive all that brilliantly when I'm chatting away. And there's so much to say about this car and this beautiful track. Let's see what we can do around Horseshoe. Or Ferradu. I can't say Ferradu because I know I'm probably pronouncing it terribly wrong. Oh, that car right up on the curve there. Shall I drop her down in a second? Let's do it. Yes, that's working out quite nicely. Oh, yes. Proper stock car stuff going on there. Bit of door rubbing. Can we get past this car as we go round the lake? Oh, he's trying for the inside line, climbing the curve to get in there. Can I get a good exit out of Subito del Lago as we approach Curva del Sol? Actually, Curva del Sol reminds me also of a fella called Rufus del Sol, who's produced one of my favourite kind of chilled out dance tracks ever. A song called Inner Bloom by Rufus del Sol. It's a great travelling tune, by the way, seeing as we're in a car. I usually listen to it on the train. Not that I'm travelling much these days, as none of us are. Right, let's get the braking right. Oh, we got a bit of a touch. Oh, there he is, fighting back. Mr. Denim 61. Can we get him on the inside? Yes. As we come around that corner. Oh, hard on the brakes there. Hear those tyres squealing. One of the things I really like about Automobilista 2, by the way, is when you go to trackside cameras, you can hear the car's tyres squealing. There's some sims, as soon as you're at the or you know, not in cockpit cameras, outside of the car, you can't hear the tyres squealing. But in this you can. I really love that. Oh, very close there, Mr. Denim. Look at him just mounting the curve there. We're right up behind him. I'm not sure if the outside line is the best line to take here. Oh, he's getting away from a slight. Well, we're now speeding up. He should be buffeting that air out of the way in front of me, so I can don't forget to change gear there. Oh, I can't quite get the slipstream. Come on. Right, gotta try and make these two corners count. Curve 1, curve 2. Try and get into his slipstream on the Reteo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not. Yeah, this is just absolutely brilliant. And also, just on a sort of a topical note, because with it being the anniversary update tomorrow, once again, happy birthday Automobilista 2, and well done to all of you at Reza Studios. We're all loving this sim. At the moment, it's like, on the forums, it's a bit like being at Glastonbury. Everyone's so excited about the update. There are people posting Neil Young songs, for God's sakes. It's just brilliant. The atmosphere is electric. Kind of like it is here at this track, apart from the racing would be a bit more exciting if I could catch up. Come on! Come on! Let's try and get on the inside of the number. Is that number 48? I can't see. I'm not looking at him. I'm trying to look at the 61 car in front. Yes! We're past. Got to work on my gear changes. That yellow car up ahead just had a bit of a tank slapping moment. I think I'll change that. It's trying to wheel hike there. I'm really putting a lot of pressure on the front end. Just don't want to hit one of those curves and ruin it all. Right, down at the second gear. We're getting tapped from the back. The AR is strangely fast around this corner. There are some places where they slow down when they really don't need to, but at that corner they're really fast. Listen to me contradicting everything that I've just said. Okay, hard on the brakes, second gear. Come on! Come on! Round Pinjarino! Lost a bit of time there though on the exit. Up to the duckspill. Come on! Nearly breaking my thumb on the steering wheel there, all twisting it. By the way, just so you know where I'm coming from, there's nothing wrong with the AI, with these cars in the way that they drive. It's just about perfect. It's just that they're a bit slow. Right, we are in the slipstream now, the 61 car. Try and remember to get my gear changes right this time and see if we can slipstream this car. Come on! He's using his brakes. I'm going to try and just tap the brakes slightly, carry as much speed through curve 1 and curve 2 as possible. Just come up the accelerator a little bit, back on. And yes, here we go! It's slipstreaming's time! Why did that one pull out there? He's just lost all of his slipstream. But we've got ours. You can see 61 there using the slipstream of number 9 to try and get past. But oh! Hard on the brakes, wanted to avoid that little coming together there. I think a car's gone off, but did the car spin behind me? I don't know. Haven't got time to look behind me and see properly. I'm sure a car just went off there. I don't know. This is absolutely brilliant. You have to try this. Oh, getting a touch. You're not having it. Oh, I'm really struggling there. Used far too much steering. And we've got the blue and white car coming up on our outside. Can we catch back up as we go past the huge Hollywood style Opala sign there? Let's just have a quick look at our HUD. 0 time to go. So this will be our last lap. Talking of last laps, another update I'd like to see is a more obvious indication that you've finished the race. In VR, if you don't have your HUD up, there's practically no indication that you've done the last lap, you've done the, finished your last lap, unless you got the HUD up. And even then, there's no check. Well, there is a checkered flag, but it's very small, and all you really see is cool down lap active. Oh, and the 48 car's just got past. But we're still in 31st place, not 32nd, so then that car must have gone off. There is another car on the track, but he's miles behind now, so he definitely went off. I want to get past this 48 car. I'm going to be naughty. It's only AI, so I can be a bit aggressive. Oh, but he's coming back at me. Oh, and I've gone wide. Damn! Well, it's alright, I'm usually last in these videos, so I don't mind being second from last, that'll do. But like I said, these are at 120%, really. They should have been miles ahead of me over the first lap, so do need an AI update. But this is just so much fun. Just so much fun, these brilliant cars that went on to become the Amigas later on. I think they still use the same straight 6 engine actually. It's a wonderful gurgling sound from the engine, It's like a big French Mastiff having a little bit of a play, Right, so this should be the last lap. We've gone across the line, no indication that we're finished, but there we go. If I put the HUD on it says cool down lap active. So there we go, that is our precious stone at this wonderful track, which has the best named corner in the world, Curva de Sol. And there is our last car. Let's just see if we can see him spin it round. I haven't got a handbrake, there we go. There he goes. Brilliant. Seriously guys, try this combination, it's absolutely fantastic. I've also tried it with some of the old F1 cars and it's just awesome. It really is. So yeah, there's that steering wheel. Look at that. Look at that. It's just odd, isn't it? So yeah, really looking forward to the update. But even if these cars don't get updated, they're brilliant. You've got to try them. All of the Opalas are great. The 80s version, the AI are really slow with them, but the stocks, the stock version, the AI are quite a bit better, but still slow, but better. And also they're completely mental because, well, the engine's just so ridiculously overpowered. And yeah, we look forward to the update. Thank you, Reza. Happy birthday, Automobilista 2. See you later.